Hello friends. Tonight I want to do a video about conspiracy theories and extraordinary claims. I include extraordinary claims because a lot of times I used to call something a conspiracy theory that didn't literally fit the definition of a conspiracy theory. So my testimony, I have a good friend, and years ago me and him used to have many wonderful conversations about politics and religion and the big questions, and these philosophical conversations, where we discovered new truth and explored truth. Well, years ago he started indulging in conspiracy theories, and it came to the point years after that it was impossible to talk to him about anything. He was so steeped in these conspiracy theories that we had no ground to stand on, no common believing these are the common facts to where we can build on. And communication just breaks down at that point. And the overarching conspiracy theory was that there's this secret group of people, rich people, behind the scenes controlling the whole world, right? And it's on the face of it, there's no way you can disprove it or prove it. Yeah, I do believe that behind the scenes that the rich and powerful are controlling things and having influences, undue influences. But you have all these rich people with competing interests. What is the people at AT&T and the head people at Verizon who are competing each other for this market? They have time to conspire to put up these expensive 5G towers to give us all cancer, whatever. Yeah. So I've noticed in the past 4 years that there's been an uptick in people just sharing conspiracy theories and extraordinary claims and not fact checking. With the whole, the Trump administration, his whole touting these conspiracy theories. And I think that is one of the type of people Hillary was talking about when she talked about the deplorables. It's this conspiracy theorist that he's encouraging, that's damaging to our culture and our democracy, right? And I'm just becoming more and more concerned because it's coming both from the right and the left. Conspiracy, Donald Trump is in the mob, or the deep state, and just so many. COVID was created in a Chinese lab, and just this big uptick. And I think as Americans, we have a responsibility to our fellow Americans to stamp down these conspiracy theories. And when people send them to us, or people say them to us, they shouldn't go unchallenged, because they are a danger to our democracy if we can't agree on a foundation of accepted facts. And we tout these conspiracy theories, how are we going to talk about what we need to do, how to move forward, right? So I looked at the definition of a conspiracy theory. This is dictionary.com. A conspiracy theory is an explanation of an event that claims it was the result of a secret and often complex and evil plot by multiple people. Now this secret, gives a conspiracy theorist this sense of, it's a psychological boost. They have this secret knowledge that no one else knows, and they feel more in control of events that seem chaotic and uncontrolled. Like a virus. And important to talk about it's very pessimistic on their view of human nature. You have all these evil people out here conspiring and controlling things behind the scenes who don't care about human life. It's a very dark projection of what's going on inside these guys. Conspiracy theories and conspiracy theorists who promote or formulate them often reject the standard or accepted explanation of an unexplained or unusual event and claim they are the doing of evil conspirators secretly conspiring behind the scenes. Very pessimistic, And then extraordinary claim, I would say is a huge claim with little or no evidence. Let's see, an example of a huge claim with little or no evidence. Well, it's something. It may be one person, like someone shot JFK, or this person shot JFK. It wasn't a complex evil plot, but with multiple people behind the scenes. But it's a huge claim. Oh, I know who shot JFK. It was da da da. But the evidence doesn't match. The huge claim. The astronomer Carl Sagan has a famous quote where he says, "Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence." So let's have this extraordinary claim that aliens visited us in the past and visited people in the past, the Anunnaki and all this. Well, they show this picture that looks like a spaceship that was made back then, or the statue that looked like an astronaut. Well, such a huge, extraordinary claim that aliens have visited us in the past your skepticism should be high. It requires extraordinary evidence. You have this principle in philosophy called Occam's razor. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Occam's razor. Other things being equal, simpler explanations are generally better than the more complex ones. Of two competing theories, the simpler explanation of an entity is to be preferred. So usually the simplest explanation is the more true one. Let's say about the election. On election night in these swing states, the first votes coming in were overwhelmingly for Trump. And then all of a sudden, at one point in the night, the numbers became, it was majority votes for Biden, a vast majority. And these conspiracy theorists are like, that's impossible. The math doesn't work. How can it jump that much? The odds of that is impossible. Well, there's a simple explanation. Trump told his voters during a pandemic not to use mail-in voting, even though he used it, and to go in person because there's problems with fraud. Already setting up this claim of fraud in the beginning. And so, if you count the walk-in votes first, overwhelmingly it's going to be for Trump. And then the mail-in ballots, the people that didn't want to go mail in person during a pandemic, were overwhelmingly for Biden. It's a simple explanation. Or we're going to accept this complex explanation that Hugo Chavez, years ago, some guy witnessed him tampering with a Dominion voting machine, and somehow the Chinese also were in on it too, and this vast conspiracy, this complex, huge plot by multiple people in multiple states to change the vote. Well, you need extraordinary evidence to overcome this. When there's a simple explanation that fits, right? You have both liberal and conservative conspiracy theories. Both of them should be stamped down. It's very dangerous in a democracy, I'll say it again, to have these conspiracy theories and, us not trusting each other, right? With these conspiracy theories, we need to be skeptical. Think about oven, and this knob, turn up and down. Well, a lot of times, if a conspiracy theory or an extraordinary claim fits your political ideology, you're going to be less skeptical, right? If it goes against everything you want to be true and believe to be true, you're going to be more skeptical. Like say, you're a Christian. It's going to take a lot of evidence to convince you of evolution. If you're a materialist, naturalist, you're not going to be so skeptical, right? I'm not saying evolution is conspiracy theory, but it's an example of how our skepticism can switch. We should be always very skeptical of these conspiracy theories and these extraordinary claims. Right? We need to practice objective, critical thinking. We need to think deeply about these important issues and whether or not these conspiracy theories, extraordinary claims are true. I think a lot of people, they don't think about the difference between objective and subjective thinking. You can't just choose what's true based on what you want to be true. The world doesn't work like that. You need to take yourself out of the equation and think about it objectively. Right? You need to be objectively critical of these conspiracy theories and extraordinary claims. Let's say you hate Donald Trump. Someone comes up to you, no, Donald Trump's in the mafia. He's been doing business with this Deutsche Bank, and he's got these Russian connections, and da-da-da-da. Well, just because you may hate Trump, and you suspect that, you don't share this conspiracy theory, right? We need to trust the experts. This is another thing that Trump has gave us, a distrust of our experts, the doctors, the health professionals, the people whose career it is and who went to school for this stuff and who deal with this stuff and answer these questions every day. You know, our society is going to break down if we don't trust the experts. If you go to the doctor and he gives you advice, you don't trust him. These hospitals are corrupt and inflating the COVID numbers, and so you're not being cautious like you should be. Our society breaks down. And when you don't trust, you're not trusting your fellow Americans. There needs to be this basic level of trust where it takes a lot of evidence for you to convince for that to change to distrust. It's very sick and twisted if you have the default is that you distrust your fellow Americans. It's very unpatriotic for one. But yeah, we need to trust our fellow Americans that the default is that they're good people. You know, if you think, okay, 90% of doctors are corrupt, well, or 90% of politicians are corrupt, really. What's your evidence for that? Everything breaks down when you think everybody, you know, the majority of people are good people, and the majority of experts are sincerely trying to do their job. Let's talk about the media. A lot of people think, oh, the media is all corrupt. No, the liberals say, oh, the media, it's corporate media. Corporations control them. And then conservatives say, oh, well, they're all liberals. You know, they got this liberal bias. But, so, people go to school their whole life. They're journalists their whole life. Their job is to find the facts and the news. And they get to the top of their career, and they're in major news organization, so they're just going to throw away and just be a puppet and just say what they're told to say and lose all objectivity. The vast majority are this way. Is unnecessarily pessimistic and a very dark projection of that person's what's going on in their head. Now I think so when somebody shares a conspiracy theory with you, you know, I think we should be respectful and just ask them questions. You know? Like, what is your source for that? This tiny newspaper in this small town down in the south made this extraordinary claim about, you know, who shot JFK and da-da-da-da. Well, if that's your source and it's not you're going to be more skeptical, right? Than if it's major, like Reuters comes out and says, hey, this came out and they said this and this. You're going to be less skeptical, right? You go to the accepted sources first, and then you go to the outliers, right? That's how it should work. or you can ask them, how do you come to that conclusion? How did you come to that conclusion? Sometimes people will share a conspiracy with you, not expecting you to ask for evidence, and they're often surprised when you're like, "Well, what about this? Or how did you reach that conclusion?" What is your standard of evidence in this? Anecdotal evidence isn't evidence, right? Not of big things, right? I mean, because my uncle's in the army and he overheard a conversation and da da, and so that means that the country's about to go to war. Okay, based on that, you're ready to jump in and believe we're going to war because of a conversation that somebody overheard somebody else having, and whatever. So just ask them, what is the standard of evidence in this? Is it the correct standards we should have? And I think another thing we call them out on is the morality of it. It's very evil to accuse somebody of being evil with no evidence, based on little or no evidence. You got to be very careful before you accuse somebody of being evil, because that's evil in itself. I had a coworker who recently was talking about the Clinton body count, that Bill and Hillary Clinton are serial killers, based on the fact that some people they know and maybe had fallen out with have disappeared or are missing, and they not mention the Clintons met and hobnobbed with millions of people. They accuse them based on little or no evidence of being serial killers. It is itself immoral. A lot of these conspiracy theories are immoral. Some of them are racist. Say the conspiracy theories about China, based on no evidence, is racist and not is considering that we have many Chinese Americans citizens, and worried about the backlash against them. So, yeah, I think these political, especially conspiracy theories about climate change, conspiracy theories about COVID, these extraordinary claims about how the world works are dangerous. And we can indulge in them. You could sit here and think, well, maybe this, okay. But you can't base your decision making on conspiracy theories and extraordinary claims that don't have no evidence. Yeah. And we need to shut them down regardless of if it fits our political ideology or not. And I really over the past couple of years, I just very frustrated by this. Both sides coming at me with conspiracy theories and believing that there's evil plots everywhere. So, got a comment or conspiracy theory? Put it in the comments below. Thank you.